Hey guys, how are you? Do you ever answer a question with a question? Do you dance around the truth? Maybe create some wiggle room, so you can tell a nicer story or weave a big tall tale? Well, stick around. We're going to dive into this in a few seconds. Hey, Jeff Mason, your host with SimpleBiz360 podcast. You see it hanging on the wall, 27 audio platforms. We were just picked up by Amazon's Audible, and you can find us on YouTube as well on the SimpleBiz360 channel. We're coming to you from St. Louis, Missouri. In fact, the De Pere area, I believe, or Creve Coeur area, which is home of the Half Coast Studios enterprise. Dietz and Maddie behind the glass here. Now, if you want to dip back into episode 100 called The New Frontier, you can see an interview with Dietz and an interview with Maddie if you want to get to know them a little bit and see what they're all about. But they do a great job here, and we thank them each and every week for what they do. So let's dive into this, guys. This episode is called Direct or Deflect, or better yet, Direct Beats Deflect, right? So we're going to kind of look at that two-sided coin. Do you handle customer inquiries and responses with a directness, or do you kind of go into deflection? Well, think about it. How do you feel when you hear politicians? I love watching, when I used to watch news, I don't watch it anymore, but I used to watch it, seeing these interviews and the journalist will ask a question, and this politician doesn't even answer the question, answers something they want to answer. And then I find out later, hearing a DC insider in a podcast about a month ago say, oh, no, that's, we're taught how to do that. That's something that we do conscientiously. We answer the question we want asked. Well, doesn't that annoy you? Well, doesn't it annoy you when someone weaves a tall tale to come to an answer or, the neighborhood of an answer, but never really tells you what the answer is, and you kind of run out of steam? How do you feel when someone, is outright avoiding the truth, right? They're avoiding a tough situation, and you sense it, right? How do you feel when you know that you're onto it? Your sniffer's out there, and you go, you know what? This guy's feeding me a tall tale. Well, when you experience these things, do you crave more of it, or do you want to escape it? Well, obviously, you don't like it. You don't crave more of this. You don't want to go through this again, right? So the answer is, obviously we want to move into taking a look at how we can structure our companies and our customer service responses to reflect directness, because my argument is it beats deflection every time, hands down. All right, you've heard me say it a million times. I live by the adage: tell a customer what they deserve to hear, and that in and of itself can eradicate deflection, and it invites a directness. Right. So I just encourage you to think about that. We're going to use this computer a little more in episodes coming up, so we can see what we're doing here. See what kind of questions and content we want to make sure we don't miss. So just think about, hey, will you deliver on time? No, we'll deliver 2 days late, versus, well, I got to tell you a story. And so to answer your question, one of my subcontractors, Billy, he's got a family, and the family went to Martha's Vineyard recently. And okay, whoa. I just want to know, are you going to deliver on time or not? And they're obviously, this style of answer is barking up the tree of, I'm going to either wear this guy out, but I'm not going to get to the point up front. I'm not going to be direct. So, those are some things that when you look at it, and from my point of view, as a person who tries to help businesses do things better, I say, when you are deflecting, you're putting the cart before the horses. Now, how are the horses going to pull a cart? They're not. So you're starting off on the wrong foot. Deflection raises eyebrows of suspicion. It often telegraphs that the vendor is lying. Deflection many times shares a duplex unit with deceit, right? Deflection is a close relative of wiggle room. They kind of go hand in hand. Deflection, it's like the lead horse in the avoidance wagon, right? If you did manage to get the horses in front of the wagon, now you've got this whole avoidance posture that you're trying to bake in there. It creates and designs a fuzzy picture. Your customer just doesn't get the clear picture of what's going on. Customer mistrust can be born from deflection. It often partners with blame shifting, which it does. It gets very close to the blame shifting neighborhood. And then more than likely, it causes silent business killer strikes. It does. And the silent business killer strikes, the book that we wrote is centered on that, and our podcasts are centered on that. And that is that 26 out of 27 customers who have a bad experience with you won't tell you why, because they don't expect anything to change. 91% of those people vanish. They just go poof. They leave. And we know from a previous podcast and from some research that it looks like the cost of replacing that lost customer is about 5 times greater than the cost to obtain and develop that customer in the first place. So, let's think about, what does Direct do? Well, Direct puts the horses in front of the cart. So you're pulling this cart the way it should be pulled, right? It actually respects time. It streamlines things because it moves quicker from the question to the answer. It's trustworthy. It builds customer rapport. It's more than likely going to connect to solid truth than it is going to connect to blame shifting or a lie. It leads to healthier customer perceptions, and more than likely leads to repeat and referral business when you really think about it. So again, I told some stories a couple weeks ago. Let me expand on it a little bit. Knew a gentleman who'd been in television news reporting for 16 years in a major network station. And he actually quit the station, and he went out and he started teaching the military branches on how to harness the art of deflection, so that when reporters and people asked these folks for their input and for their take on things, they could avoid it and they could deflect it. And it's just, he made a living out of it, is making a living out of it today. So it's kind of wild, that those things are out there and that they happen. Then, I mentioned about that DC insider. I mean, just think about that. That's coming from DC saying, hey, we're taught on how to just not answer your question, but answer the one we want to. That's why when you see these television programs, these news, interviews, you get so frustrated, because it's like, oh my gosh, why can't these people just play ball the way we want? We want to hear the truth. We want to hear the answer. So again, we're all a microcosm of society. We see those benchmarks out there. We listen to these news journalists and we go, wow, is that the way we should be in our business? No. Customers don't want that. Customers want directness. They just want the truth, but they want it in a short, concise way. And it saves your time. I mean, goodness gracious, it just does. It saves time all the way around. So think about that. And you know what? So two calls to action that you could start with is just look for these personal opportunities in your company where you could style more of a direct culture in the way you disseminate information, but most particularly the way you answer questions. And then, just get deliberate about answering questions directly. Make it an absolute deliberate function of your company and the way you do business, and make sure that you have intentionality when you go into answering a question, and you're going to try to answer it direct. Now, do I do a great job of that in my personal life? No, my wife always, not always, but a lot of times corrects me and says, hey, please give me the answer I'm looking for. And she's right. I'm wrong. I tend to want to give her a little bit of the backstory. She doesn't want it. She doesn't want the backstory. Customers don't want the backstory. They want the front story. So again, put the horses before the cart, not the cart before the horses, and choose direct. Just think about it. But listen, thank you so much. And as always, you know what? We love the Lost in the Shuffle track, right? And I couldn't help. I was listening to the Beatles the other day, and I couldn't help just grab this one. And it's one that's not one of their popular ones that are more popular ones than ones you're used to on the radio play. But it's called Think for yourself. And it's from the 1966 Rubber Soul album. And we here encourage you to do that. We encourage you to spend time at your businesses, in those cottages, in those chairs, on the beach, in the park, in a special place, in the basement, in your car, wherever, where it's just you, no technology, and think. Let thoughts run through your head. Think about ways you could improve. Think about things customers have said to you. Think about ways to inject the improvement into your company culture. And then write it down, and then test it, try it for a month, get it in there. And these are the little 1% improvements we strive to help you with on this show and in our book. Just the little 1% improvements. Imagine, plugging in 10 of those, you now improved your company by 10%. Wouldn't that be cool? So we just dip into Rubber Soul, the great album, 1965, actually, the Beatles. Think for yourself, jumpy little tune. And that's what we're all about here. We say all the time, if you want to improve the results of your business, improve the how. And as you go off this week, please think for yourself. Do your own research. Look things up on your own. It's a crazy world out there. There's so much garbage coming our way. Just go out there and find it. Be a truth teller. Turn that TV and cable news off. It's not doing any good for you. I mean it. And you know what? Turn a podcast on. There's so many cool podcasts, right? Pick up a Bible. Get to know God's Word. Read it. Pray. And you know what? More than anything else, if you could come to a point where you could love the Lord God with all your heart, mind, and soul, that is a pretty good place to be. We will see you in 168 hours.